The crystalline lattice of the grand conclave chamber shimmered with the reflected anxieties of 1,000 species. Within its colossal, vaulted expanse, the air itself seemed to hum with suppressed apprehension, a low, resonant thrumming that vibrated through the chitinous carapaces of the Eskrell delegates, stirred the bioluminescent tendrils of the lumina, and caused the multifaceted eyes of the xylos to dart nervously across the polished obsidian floor. At the apex of the central plinth, Elder Arcthar, his segmented form rippling with barely contained agitation, struck his ceremonial staff against the sonic resonating plate. The sharp, piercing tone cut through the cacophony of hushed whispers and neural chatter, silencing all but the persistent, rhythmic drip of nutrient solution from the life support systems of the venerable Presidium. Order, Arcthar's voice, amplified by the chamber's acoustic properties, boomed with the gravitas of 1,000 cycles of galactic governance. We stand at the precipice. The data streams from the Perseus arm grow increasingly divergent. The nascent species designated humanity continues its expansion, an expansion that, until this moment, has been largely dismissed as a localized curiosity. A low murmur rippled through the gathered representatives. For cycles, the Galactic Accord had observed humanity with a detached, almost patronizing interest. Their starfaring capabilities, while rudimentary by Accord standards, were accelerating at an unprecedented rate. Their internal conflicts, frequently broadcast across the subspace frequencies, were viewed as chaotic, unpredictable, and ultimately self-limiting. No one truly had feared them, not until the incident. The reports from the Vorlagen Border Patrol are unprecedented, continued Arcthar, his multi-jointed fingers clenching into fists that twitched at his sides. One of their scout vessels, probing the outer reaches of the uncharted nebula, encountered a human exploratory fleet. Standard protocol dictated a non-aggressive observational posture. Yet the humans engaged. They engaged with a ferocity and an efficacy that defied all prior analytical models. The Vorlagen Patrol, comprised of 2 standard cruisers and a contingent of escort frigates, was obliterated. A shocked gasp collectively echoed through the chamber, a sound rarely heard within the hallowed halls of the conclave. The Vorlagen Patrol was not merely a collection of ships. It represented the disciplined might of one of the Accord's most seasoned defense forces, its vessels equipped with energy shields capable of deflecting planetary bombardment and weaponry designed to tear through stellar formations. To be obliterated by an emergent species was an impossibility, a statistical anomaly that challenged the very foundations of galactic strategic doctrine. Speaker Xyler of the Xylos, his crystalline body refracting the chamber's internal light into a dizzying array of hues, extended a translucent limb, its tip glowing with an agitated luminescence. Elder Arcthar, respectfully, the term obliterated suggests a complete and utter destruction without warning or possibility of retreat. Our intel on humanity has consistently portrayed them as fractious, technologically disparate, and lacking coherent strategic unity. How could such an outcome be possible against a fully armed and shielded Vorlagen complement? His voice, a series of melodic clicks and resonant hums, carried a skeptical undertone that many in the chamber shared. The Xylos, renowned for their logical precision and adherence to verifiable data, struggled to reconcile this new information with their established understanding. The telemetry data, Speaker Xyler, is unambiguous, Arcthar countered, his frustration evident in the deeper resonance of his tone. The Vorlagen vessels initiated standard hailing protocols. Humanity responded with a focused energy burst that pierced their forward shields as if they were gossamer. The subsequent engagement lasted less than 3 full chronons. The scout vessels reported a singular, massive energy signature unlike any known Accord weapon. And then, silence. A void where robust starships once patrolled. He paused, allowing the gravity of his words to settle. The term obliterated is, regrettably, the only accurate descriptor, and this was not a single vessel. It was an entire patrol, an entire armament, if you will, capable of defending an entire sector. The Lumina Delegate, Shimmer of the Deep, a pulsating bioluminescent entity that communicated through complex patterns of light and shadow, intensified its internal glow, a clear sign of distress. Its tendrils, usually flowing with graceful serenity, writhed with agitation. This defies the great prognostication. The nascent species were catalogued as unremarkable potential. Their volatile internal politics, their primitive energy sources, their limited understanding of Tra and S-dimensional physics all indicated a slow, arduous path to true galactic participation. This, This violence, this capability, it is an anomaly of cosmic proportion. Its projected thoughts, translated simultaneously into the Accord's common language, carried a profound sense of existential dread. The Lumina, seers, and archivists of cosmic patterns rarely experienced such profound disorientation. Elder Arcthar turned, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the conclave, searching for understanding, for answers that eluded him. Indeed, Shimmer of the Deep, it is an anomaly, and the question before us now, the question that will define our actions, perhaps our very survival, is this: what is humanity? Are they an unforeseen threat, a rapidly escalating danger that must be contained? Or is there a deeper truth to their actions, a purpose we fail to grasp through the lens of our established galactic order? He projected a hololithic image into the center of the chamber. A swirling vortex of energy, overlaid with the schematic remains of 3 Vorlagen patrol vessels, their internal structures violently warped and fractured. The image lingered, a stark, silent testament to the destructive power witnessed. A representative from the Cathar, a reptilian species known for their pragmatic military doctrines, hissed, its forked tongue flicking nervously. Containment is the only logical course, Elder. Such power, unaligned and untamed, cannot be permitted to fester. We must dispatch a diplomatic envoy, yes, but backed by a sufficient fleet presence to ensure compliance. A demonstration of our collective might, to remind them of the Accord's supremacy. This sentiment resonated with many of the more hawkish factions. Their historical databases filled with instances of emergent species either joining the Accord peacefully or being encouraged to do so. But Speaker Xyler, ever the analytical, interjected. A demonstration of might, while tempting, relies on the assumption that our might is superior. This incident suggests otherwise. A direct military confrontation based on insufficient data carries unacceptable risks. We still lack critical information. What was the human fleet's composition? What was their objective in the uncharted nebula? Why did they respond to a standard hailing sequence with such overwhelming force? Was it an act of aggression or a misinterpretation? We risk escalating a localized incident into a full-scale galactic conflict with a species about whom we know precious little, save for their newfound capacity for destruction. The debate raged for cycles, the vast conclave chamber becoming a crucible of fear, suspicion, and philosophical deadlock. The very concept of an unknown, powerful entity outside the established galactic order was a profound challenge to the Accord's foundational principles of stability and regulated progression. Their history was replete with the assimilation of nascent civilizations, guiding them gently or firmly into the fold. But humanity seemed to defy all categorization. Their erratic cultural broadcasts, their self-destructive tendencies, their penchant for both profound artistry and horrific brutality. It was a mosaic of contradictions that baffled even the most seasoned xenopsychologists. Elder Arcthar, observing the fractured council, felt a profound weariness settle upon him. He had presided over countless galactic crises, mediated disputes between empires spanning star systems, and guided the Accord through periods of seismic change. But humanity presented a different kind of challenge. They were an enigma wrapped in an explosion, a paradox cloaked in raw power. The initial disinterest, the casual dismissal, had curdled into a cold, pervasive fear. No one had feared humanity until the Armada fell. The question remains, then, Arcthar finally declared, his voice cutting through the rising clamor. How do we proceed? A first contact scenario is unavoidable, yet the parameters have shifted catastrophically. We cannot approach them with the presumption of weakness, nor with overt hostility, lest we provoke a reaction we cannot comprehend. We need information, we need understanding, and we need it swiftly. He directed his gaze towards a silent, cloaked figure seated in a recessed alcove, a representative of the envoys of the unseen, a secretive order dedicated to deep cultural analysis and first contact protocols. Envoy Catarl, your order has observed humanity for longer than any other. What is your counsel? Envoy Catarl, a being of indeterminate species whose form was perpetually shrouded in an energy field, rose slowly. Its voice, a synthesized blend of soothing tones, resonated with an ancient wisdom. Our observations suggest a species driven by profound emotional depth and an unparalleled capacity for adaptation. Their internal conflicts, while seemingly chaotic, are often rooted in ideological differences rather than innate malice. Their technological advancements, while rapid, are not purely driven by conquest, but by curiosity, by a relentless desire to understand the cosmos around them. The incident with the Vorlagen patrol, It does not align with their typical patterns of engagement, even in times of internal strife. "But they obliterated an armada," hissed the Cathar delegate, his scales flaring with indignation. "How can that be reconciled with curiosity and adaptation?" "Perhaps," Cathar mused, its modulated voice echoing softly, "the Vorlagen patrol in its approach conveyed an intent that humanity misinterpreted. Perhaps their signals were perceived as aggressive, or perhaps humanity perceived a threat to something they consider vital. We cannot assume their communication protocols, their cultural nuances, or their defensive doctrines align with ours." There was a long, heavy silence as the implications of Cathar's words sank in. The very foundation of galactic diplomacy rested on shared protocols, on universal understandings of intent. If humanity operated on an entirely different set of principles, then every interaction was a minefield. "This is an unacceptable level of uncertainty," declared a delegate from the T-Con, their multi-jointed limbs clicking in agitation. "We cannot afford to speculate. The Accord must project strength, not ambiguity. A full diplomatic fleet, armored and ready, must be dispatched. We offer terms of integration, and if they refuse, then their refusal will be met with the full weight of the Accord." "And risk triggering an even greater catastrophe," Elder Arcthar countered, his voice sharp with frustration. "We just witnessed their capacity to destroy an entire patrol. What if this diplomatic fleet is perceived as an invasion? What if their singular, massive energy signature is not a unique weapon, but a standard component of their defensive capabilities?" He shook his head, the segmented plates on his neck rippling. "No, we cannot rush into open conflict. Not with such an unknown variable. Envoy Cathar, you spoke of their unparalleled capacity for adaptation. Does this extend to their technology, to their strategic thinking?" "Indeed, Elder," Cathar confirmed. "Their internal histories are replete with instances where they faced overwhelming odds and, through ingenuity and sheer will, overcame them. They are a species that learns and learns quickly from every encounter. Their internal conflicts, as brutal as they often were, forged them into a people capable of rapid evolution, both technologically and ideologically. This ability to adapt, to innovate under pressure, is perhaps their most defining characteristic." This new perspective only deepened the mystery. A species that learned so rapidly, that could adapt to any challenge, was far more dangerous than one that merely possessed raw, unthinking power. It implied cunning, intelligence, and a capacity for strategic thought that might rival, or even surpass, the ancient civilizations of the Accord. The whispers started again, this time laced not just with fear, but with a dawning respect, a chilling realization that perhaps they had gravely underestimated humanity. Elder Arcthar considered Cathar's words, a cold knot forming in his core. If humanity truly possessed such adaptive capabilities, then a preemptive strike, even a veiled one, would only serve to accelerate their development, to sharpen their fangs against the very hand that sought to contain them. He reached a decision, one that went against the counsel of many, but resonated with the deepest instincts of galactic diplomacy. "We will dispatch a single, unarmed diplomatic vessel. Not to issue ultimatums, but to seek dialogue, to seek understanding. It will carry the full weight of the Accord's desire for peace, but also our unwavering resolve to protect the stability of the galaxy. Envoy Cathar, your order will prepare the mission. Choose your most perceptive, your most patient. And above all, choose a species capable of projecting absolute neutrality, devoid of any implied threat." The chamber, which had been alive with debate, fell silent once more. The bold decision hung in the air, a fragile hope against the backdrop of an unprecedented fear. Humanity, the enigma, the destroyers of armadas, would finally be confronted, not with force, but with the quiet courage of diplomacy. And everyone in that grand chamber understood that the fate of the galaxy might very well hinge on that single, fragile interaction. Far beyond the shimmering conclave chamber, on the very edge of the newly designated humanity sector, a solitary diplomatic vessel, the stellar emissary, glided through the inky void. Its hull, crafted from a unique crystalline alloy, absorbed and refracted stellar light, rendering it almost invisible to conventional sensors, a ghost in the cosmic ballet. Within its primary observation deck, 3 beings awaited the moment of first contact. Envoy Cathar, still shrouded in its shimmering energy field, stood silently, a beacon of calm. Beside it, Speaker Alara, a lumina whose light patterns were meticulously controlled to convey serenity, extended her tendrils towards the vast starscape. The third, Representative Jorn, a Eskrel whose multifaceted eyes absorbed every minute detail of the approaching human system, clacked his mandibles with a nervous rhythm, an unconscious manifestation of the immense pressure resting upon them. We are approaching the designated rendezvous point, a synthesized voice announced from the bridge. Human vessels detected, multiple energy signatures, composition varied. Jorn's mandibles clacked louder. Varied. Does this imply a lack of standardization or a strategic deployment of different ship classes? His species, steeped in military doctrine, always sought to categorize, to understand the potential threat. Envoy Katarl's modulated voice offered a gentle reassurance. It implies neither, Representative Jorn. It simply indicates a design philosophy perhaps unfamiliar to us. Observe and gather data without preconception. As the stellar emissary drew closer, the human fleet resolved into distinct forms. There were sleek, angular vessels that seemed to defy conventional aerodynamic principles in vacuum, bristling with what appeared to be heavy weapon emplacements. Alongside them were more utilitarian transports, their hulls scarred and patched, clearly designed for resource extraction or colonization. And then at the center of the formation was a singular vessel of immense proportions, a construct unlike any the Accord had ever catalogued. It was not a warship in the conventional sense, nor a pure transport. Its hull was a patchwork of varied materials, radiating a faint, almost organic energy signature. It was less a ship, and more a self-contained, mobile habitat, a small artificial world unto itself. Curious, Speaker Alara transmitted, her internal glow momentarily intensifying with intellectual interest. The central vessel does not conform to any known classification. It emanates a complex array of energy fields, some defensive, others metabolic. It is a living entity, in a sense, a self-sustaining ecosystem designed for prolonged journeys. A colony ship, then? Jorn surmised, his multiple eyes narrowing. Perhaps they are merely migrating, and the Vorlagen patrol was an unfortunate misunderstanding of their protective instincts. Perhaps, Katarl conceded, its form slightly shifting. But their technological signature is advanced, far beyond what our archives indicated. Their energy weapons, while seemingly primitive in their discharge, appear to possess a remarkable penetration capability. The Vorlagen data streams confirmed this. As if on cue, a hail arrived. It was not the crisp, complex data burst of Accord communication, but a series of distinct, modulated frequencies, carrying an astonishing amount of information. The ship's universal translator whirred into action, processing the alien language, the alien concepts. A voice, deep and resonant, filled the observation deck. Unidentified vessel, this is Captain Aris Thorn of the human exploratory vessel Voyager's Promise. You have entered a designated human expansion zone. State your intentions and identity. The directness, the lack of preamble, was surprising. Accord communication often began with layers of diplomatic pleasantries, historical references, and cultural courtesies. This was blunt. Envoy Katarl activated the emissary's external communication systems. Greetings, Captain Thorn. We are the Stellar Emissary, a diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Accord. We approach in peace, seeking understanding. We wish to establish a formal first contact with humanity. A brief, almost imperceptible pause on the human side. Then, Thorn's voice, now carrying a hint of caution, returned. Galactic Accord? We have no records of such an entity. Our long-range probes have detected no unified galactic presence beyond our own species. Explain. Jorn's mandibles clacked again. They have no knowledge of the Accord? This is unprecedented. How could a starfaring species remain oblivious to the dominant galactic power? Perhaps, Alara countered, their expansion has been primarily localized, focused on the deeper reaches of the Perseus Arm, away from established Accord territories. Or perhaps their definition of long-range probes differs from ours. Katarl, however, focused on the larger implication. They do not fear us. Their lack of knowledge means they harbor no preconceived notions of our power or our intentions. This is both a vulnerability and an opportunity. Activating the comms again, Katarl projected a series of data packets containing a condensed history of the Galactic Accord, its primary species, its mandate for peace and cooperation, and a map of its vast territories. It was a calculated risk, revealing so much, but Katarl said that honesty was their only path forward. Another, longer pause from the human side. The energy signatures of their fleet seemed to shift, subtly, not aggressively, but as if processing the overwhelming influx of new information. Then, Captain Thorn's voice returned, now tinged with something that sounded like profound wonder. A galactic civilization, spanning thousands of star systems, This is remarkable. Your data packets indicate a sophisticated understanding of astrophysics, FTL travel, and xenolinguistics. Our apologies for our ignorance. Our expansion has indeed been limited to this sector, focused on identifying habitable worlds and extracting necessary resources for our growing population. We are surprised. We are equally surprised, Captain Thorne, Katarl replied, its tone calm and measured. The incident with the Vorlagen Border Patrol, we believe it was a misunderstanding. We seek to clarify the circumstances and establish peaceful relations. There was a noticeable tightening of the energy signatures from the human fleet. Thorne's voice, when it returned, had lost its wonder and gained a steely edge. The Vorlagen vessels initiated unprovoked aggression. They fired upon our survey ships without warning, attempting to disable our propulsion systems. We defended ourselves. Our protocols dictate a proportional response to existential threats. We do not initiate conflict, but we will not permit our vessels or our people to be destroyed without consequence. Jorn gasped, his multifaceted eyes widening. Unprovoked aggression, that is a direct contradiction of the Vorlagen report. They claimed humanity engaged first. Indeed, Katarl observed, a new layer of complexity added to the situation. A complete divergence in narratives. This is precisely why direct contact is paramount. Addressing Thorne, Katarl stated, Captain, the Accord's records indicate the Vorlagen Patrol initiated standard hailing. Their reports state your vessels engaged without provocation. There appears to be a profound discrepancy. We seek to understand the truth of this matter. Would you be willing to allow our diplomatic team to board your vessel for direct dialogue and data exchange? Another tense silence, even longer than before. The human energy signatures remained on high alert but did not escalate. Finally, Thorne's voice, carefully modulated, broke the quiet. We require assurance of your peaceful intent. Our species has a long, difficult history with first contacts, many of them ending in conflict and betrayal. We are wary, but we are also curious. Send a delegation. One vessel, unarmed. We will prepare a secure docking bay. Katarl nodded to the bridge crew. Prepare the shuttle. Speaker Alara, Representative Jorn, you will accompany me. Remember the mission's gravitas. We are not just ambassadors. We are the bridge between two entirely unknown civilizations. The short journey to the colossal human vessel, the Voyager's Promise, was filled with a palpable tension. The emissary's shuttle, designed for stealth and grace, felt utterly insignificant next to the sheer mass of the human craft. As they docked, the automated systems of the Voyager's Promise extended a seamless energy tunnel, maintaining atmospheric integrity. Stepping into the human vessel, the Accord delegation was struck by the sensory assault. The air was warmer, more humid than their native environments, carrying a faint, earthy scent that was both alien and strangely comforting. The corridor they entered was not sterile and gleaming like Accord ships, but functional, almost industrial, with visible conduits and bracing. The walls were adorned with what appeared to be artistic representations of star charts, human figures, and intricate symbols, a surprising display of aesthetic sensibility amidst the utilitarian design. A human figure, tall and powerfully built, clad in a simple, dark uniform, approached them. This was Captain Aris Thorne. His face was unadorned, his eyes a piercing blue that seemed to assess them with an unnerving intensity. He projected an aura of quiet authority, his movements economical and precise. He offered no elaborate greetings, merely a nod. Welcome to the Voyager's Promise, representatives of the Galactic Accord, Thorne stated, his voice calm yet firm. I am Captain Aris Thorne. Please follow me. We have prepared a secure meeting chamber. The journey through the ship was revealing. They passed through sections dedicated to agriculture, where strange, leafy plants grew under artificial light, through workshops where humans meticulously fashioned tools and components, and past living quarters that, while compact, were filled with personal effects, pictures, small sculptures, woven fabrics. It was a glimpse into a vibrant, industrious culture, far more complex than their Accord data streams had indicated. They arrived at a spacious chamber, sparsely furnished but equipped with advanced holographic discs. Thorne gestured to a series of comfortable-looking seating arrangements, clearly designed for human physiology. Please make yourselves as comfortable as possible. We apologize if our environment is challenging. Envoy Katarl, taking the central position, projected its calm aura. We appreciate your hospitality, Captain Thorne. Our primary objective is to clarify the events surrounding the Vorlagen Patrol. Your report states unprovoked aggression. The Accord's records indicate the reverse. This discrepancy is critical. Thorne's expression hardened. We have no reason to fabricate. Our records and the testimonials of our crew are consistent. We detected unknown vessels entering a critical survey zone. We initiated passive scanning. They responded by firing upon our lead survey vessel, attempting to disable its primary reactor. Our response was purely defensive and calibrated to eliminate the immediate threat. We would request access to your telemetry data, your sensor logs, and any visual recordings of the engagement, Jorn stated, his Eskrell pragmatism asserting itself. Such data would allow us to correlate with the Vorlagen black box recordings and resolve this conflict of information. Thorne hesitated for a moment, his gaze unwavering. We understand the need for verification. We will provide our full data logs of the encounter. However, we also request access to the Vorlagen black box data. We seek not merely to defend our actions, but to understand what prompted theirs. Was it malice, a mistaken identification, or a deliberate act of aggression from a species we had never encountered? The request was bold, unexpected. Accord species rarely offered their internal data to unaligned civilizations, let alone a species suspected of destroying their patrol. But Thorne's earnestness, his clear desire for truth, was disarming. Katarl inclined its shrouded form. Agreed, Captain Thorne. Full data exchange is the path to resolution. We will facilitate access to the Vorlagen logs, but we must also address the efficacy of your response. The Vorlagen patrol was comprised of highly advanced vessels. Their destruction in such a short time frame suggests a technological capability far beyond what our pre-contact assessments indicated for humanity. Thorne steepled his fingers, his gaze distant for a moment. Our technology has evolved rapidly. Necessity, as you may understand, is a harsh mistress. We learned early in our interstellar ventures that survival often hinged on innovation. The vessels you encountered were part of our exploration and defense fleet. Their primary role is to secure safe passage for our colony ships and resource extractors. The weapon you refer to as a singular, massive energy signature is our primary defensive armament, a focused particle stream designed to neutralize threats quickly and decisively. A focused particle stream capable of penetrating the most advanced energy shields in the galaxy, Jorn blurted, unable to conceal his incredulity. That is unheard of. Thorne offered a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Perhaps, but necessity dictates efficiency. We observed that many species, when encountering unknown entities, relied on layers of redundant defenses. Our approach was different. Eliminate the threat before it could cause significant damage. Our engineers spent generations perfecting a weapon that could project a highly localized, high-energy stream with pinpoint accuracy, bypassing kinetic and energy shields alike. He paused, his blue eyes holding a deep, almost ancient wisdom. Our history has taught us that the greatest dangers often come from underestimation. We have no desire to project overwhelming force, but we will not hesitate to defend what is ours. Speaker Alara, her internal light patterns flowing with quiet fascination, transmitted a complex thought. This speaks to a deep-seated pragmatism, a focus on efficacy and immediate threat neutralization. It is a philosophy born not of aggression, but of survival against overwhelming odds. They prioritize the definitive resolution of a threat over protracted engagement. The data exchange followed, a torrent of complex information flowing between the Accord emissary and the human Voyager's promise. The Accord delegation, poring over the human logs, found a stark, undeniable truth. The Vorlagen patrol, perhaps out of arrogance, perhaps out of a misguided sense of superiority, had fired first. Their initial hails had been followed by disabling shots aimed at the human survey vessels. Humanity's response, while devastating, was indeed, as Captain Thorne claimed, a defensive action. The Vorlagen logs, retrieved and analyzed, confirmed the grim reality. The patrol leader, Commander Xyler, had misidentified the human energy signatures as those of a known pirate faction, a rogue element that frequently preyed on unaligned vessels. In his zeal to eliminate a perceived threat, he had overridden Stan. Darred first contact protocols, assuming the unknown vessels were merely another prize to be taken. The Conclave's initial assessment had been catastrophically flawed, built on incomplete information and ingrained prejudice. The fear of humanity had been born not of their malice, but of the Accord's own misjudgment. The truth was a bitter pill for Jorn to swallow. His species' pride had been wounded, their military doctrine challenged by a species they had so casually dismissed. He looked at Thorn with new eyes, seeing not a barbarian but a guardian, a protector of his people. "Captain Thorn," Katarl finally stated, its voice imbued with a profound solemnity. "The Accord has reviewed your data and correlated it with our own. We have found conclusive evidence that the Vorlagen patrol initiated unprovoked aggression. Your actions, while devastating, were indeed defensive. We offer our deepest apologies for the tragic loss of life and for the erroneous initial assessment of your species." Thorn's expression softened, a subtle shift that conveyed relief but also a lingering sadness. "The loss of life on any side is a tragedy. We hold no animosity towards the Accord, only a desire for understanding. We are a people who have known much conflict, but we aspire to peace. Our expansion is driven by a need for resources, for new homes, not by a desire for conquest. We simply ask to be left in peace and for the right to defend ourselves when threatened." "This misunderstanding, it cost lives," Katarl acknowledged, its tone heavy. "The Accord will issue a formal condemnation of the Vorlagen patrol's actions. Steps will be taken to ensure such a tragic error is never repeated. We extend an invitation, Captain Thorn, for humanity to join the Galactic Accord, not as a subordinate but as an equal. Your adaptive capabilities, your ingenuity, your pragmatic ethics, these are qualities that would greatly enrich our collective. We offer you peace and the shared knowledge of a galactic civilization that spans millennia." Thorn considered the offer, his blue eyes distant, as if weighing the fate of his entire species. To join such a vast organization, it is a monumental decision. It would require our people to adapt to new protocols, new alliances, new threats. We would need time to consider, to assess the implications for our autonomy, our culture, our future. He looked at Katarl, then at Alara and Jorn. "But the prospect of true peace, of shared knowledge, of a future free from constant vigilance against the unknown, it is a powerful inducement. We would require assurance that our sovereignty would be respected, that our unique cultural identity would be preserved." "The Accord is a tapestry of diverse cultures, Captain Thorn," Alara projected, her light patterns flowing with warm, inviting hues. "Each species retains its autonomy, its identity, its unique contributions. Unity does not mean uniformity. It means shared purpose, mutual defense, and collective advancement. Your species has proven its capacity for rapid evolution, its commitment to justice, and its formidable strength. These are not qualities we seek to suppress, but to embrace." Jorn, still wrestling with his species' initial prejudice, found himself nodding. The humans had destroyed an armada, yes, but not out of malice, out of defense, out of a fierce, protective instinct that mirrored his own species' deepest values. They were not aggressors, but survivors, and in their raw, undeniable strength, he saw not a threat, but a valuable ally. "Captain Thorn," Jorn stated, his voice now devoid of any trace of suspicion, "my species, the Eskrel, values strength and honor above all else. You have demonstrated both. We would be honored to have humanity as part of the Accord. We offer you our friendship and our unwavering support in navigating the complexities of galactic diplomacy." Thorn finally permitted himself a genuine, if brief, smile. "Friendship, Representative Jorn, is a foundation upon which a lasting peace can be built. We will convene our council. We will deliberate. But know this, the prospect of joining a larger galactic family, of ending our isolation, is one that fills us with a cautious optimism." He extended a hand, a gesture of peace and trust. Envoy Katarl, after a moment's hesitation, took the offered hand, a silent covenant passing between two disparate species, a bridge built not on words alone, but on shared understanding and a newfound respect. The return of the stellar emissary to the Grand Conclave chamber was met with an atmosphere of profound anticipation. The news of the data correlation, the confirmation of the Vorlagen transgression, had rippled through the Accord's highest echelons, causing a seismic shift in perception. Humanity, once an enigmatic threat, was now an enigma that commanded profound respect. Elder Arkthar stood before the assembled delegates, his form radiating a solemn gravity. Emission has returned. The truth of the Vorlagen incident has been uncovered. It is a truth that requires us to confront our own biases, our own assumptions, and our own failures." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. "Envoy Katarl, present your findings." Katarl, its shrouded form emitting a calm, steady energy, recounted the events in meticulous detail, presenting the correlated data logs, the human testimony, and the undeniable proof of Vorlagen aggression. The holographic projections showed the Vorlagen ships firing first, their energy pulses striking the human survey vessels. Then, the almost instantaneous, devastating response. The conclave watched in stunned silence, a collective gasp echoing through the chamber as the singular, massive energy signature resolved into a pinpoint beam of concentrated particle energy, piercing shields and obliterating hulls with terrifying precision. Humanity's response, Catarl concluded, was indeed defensive, proportional from their perspective to an existential threat. They responded with a technology and a strategic philosophy that prioritized immediate, decisive neutralization of perceived danger. Their primary weapon, a focused particle stream, is unlike anything catalogued within the Accord. It bypasses known energy and kinetic shield matrices, delivering concentrated damage directly to a target's core systems. A collective murmuring arose, a mix of awe and lingering apprehension. To possess such a weapon, and to wield it with such precision, spoke of a technological mastery that exceeded even the most advanced Accord species. "This changes everything," Speaker Xyler transmitted, his crystalline form pulsing with a new realization. "We underestimated them not only in their ethical framework, but in their technological ingenuity. They did not merely develop a weapon, they developed a solution to existing defensive paradigms. This speaks to an entirely different approach to scientific progression." "Indeed," Catarl affirmed, "their development philosophy appears to be driven by problem-solving under duress. Their internal histories, as Captain Thorne indicated, are replete with conflicts that force them to innovate, to adapt, to overcome. This intense pressure has forged a species capable of remarkable, even unprecedented, technological leaps." Elder Arcthar struck his staff again, silencing the murmurs. "The Accord stands at a crossroads. We can choose to view humanity's strength as a threat, to fear their power and isolate them. Or we can choose to recognize their value, to embrace their ingenuity, and to welcome them into our collective. Humanity, through Captain Thorne, has expressed a cautious willingness to consider joining the Accord, provided their sovereignty and cultural integrity are respected." The debate that followed was different from the initial, fear-fueled arguments. Now there was a palpable sense of respect, even admiration, woven into the discussions. The Cathar delegate, who had initially advocated for containment, now spoke of the strategic advantage of integrating humanity's defensive technologies. The T-Con, initially cautious, recognized the potential for accelerated scientific discovery. Speaker Alara, her light patterns radiating a profound sense of hope, transmitted, "Humanity's journey has been one of struggle, of learning from hardship. Their pragmatism, their fierce loyalty, their capacity for both logic and profound empathy, these are attributes that will enrich the Accord beyond measure. They are not a species to be feared, but a species to be celebrated." After cycles of intense deliberation, the Grand Conclave reached a unanimous decision. An unprecedented resolution was passed, not merely to invite humanity, but to formally apologize for the Vorlagen transgression, to offer reparations for any damage incurred during the encounter, and to extend a full, unequivocal membership into the Galactic Accord, with all rights and responsibilities thereto. The formal Accord delegation, comprising Elder Arcthar himself, Speaker Xyler, and the Lumina Elder, Shimmer of the Deep, along with Envoy Catarl, journeyed to the human home system, Sol. The sight that greeted them was, in its own way, as astonishing as the particle weapon. Sol was a vibrant, bustling star system, teeming with life and activity, not just on their homeworld, Terra, but across multiple colonized planets and orbital habitats. The sheer scale of human civilization previously underestimated was now laid bare. Massive orbital rings encircled gas giants, harvesting resources. Artificial habitats teeming with human life orbited distant stars. Their starfaring presence was not merely a few ships, but a vast, interconnected network of industry, exploration, and settlement. On Terra itself, the delegation landed in a sprawling, verdant city that integrated seamlessly with its natural surroundings. The air was clean, the scent of blooming FL. Aura permeating everything. Humans, in their myriad forms and expressions, moved with a quiet purpose, their faces reflecting a spectrum of emotions that fascinated the Lumina. The formal reception was held in a council chamber far less ornate than the Grand Conclave, yet equally impressive in its understated elegance. The human leaders, not a singular emperor or high council, but a diverse assembly of representatives from different nations and ideologies, greeted them with a solemn dignity. Captain Aris Thorne stood among them, his presence commanding yet humble. The Accord's formal apology delivered by Elder Arcthar was received with a profound silence, a quiet acceptance rather than triumphalism. The Human Council leader, an elderly woman named Chancellor Anya Sharma, her face etched with wisdom, responded with measured words. "We accept your apology, Elder Arcthar," Chancellor Sharma stated, her voice calm and resonant. "The Vorlagen incident was a tragedy born of misunderstanding. Humanity does not seek retribution, only justice and understanding. We have reviewed your offer of Accord membership. It is a decision that has weighed heavily upon our collective. We are a people who value our independence, who have often defined ourselves through our struggles. To join such a vast collective, it requires a profound shift in our identity." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the Accord delegation, then towards her own council. "However, we recognize the immense potential in a unified galaxy. The shared knowledge, the mutual defense, the promise of a future where our children do not have to contend with the existential dread of the unknown, these are compelling. We have also come to understand that the Accord values diversity, autonomy, and the pursuit of peace. Therefore, after much deliberation, humanity accepts your invitation." A wave of profound relief washed over the Accord delegation. The impossible had been achieved. Humanity, the destroyers of an armada, had chosen peace, not conquest. "But our acceptance comes with a condition," Chancellor Sharma continued, her gaze firm. "We will join the Accord not merely as another member, but as a full and equal partner. Our unique technologies, our strategic philosophies, and our experiences will be shared, but our sovereignty and our cultural distinctiveness will be inviolate. Furthermore, we wish to establish a new Accord mandate, a rapid response diplomatic and defensive corps, comprised of species capable of de-escalating conflicts with unknown entities, and if necessary, defending against unforeseen threats with decisive force. We offer our expertise in this endeavor." The offer was staggering. Not only were they joining, but they were offering to contribute their unique capabilities, their devastating defensive technology, to the collective good. It was an act of profound trust, and a clear demonstration of their commitment to a peaceful yet secure galactic future. The conclave delegates exchanged knowing glances. This was not merely assimilation. This was true integration, a symbiotic relationship where humanity brought unparalleled strengths to the table. Elder Arcthar bowed his segmented form. "Your conditions are honorable, Chancellor Sharma. They are accepted. Humanity will be welcomed as a vital pillar of the Galactic Accord. Your wisdom, your strength, and your unique perspective will undoubtedly guide us to new horizons." The ceremony that followed was simple, yet deeply symbolic. Human and Accord representatives exchanged cultural artifacts, shared knowledge, and pledged mutual loyalty. The fear that had once gripped the conclave was replaced by a quiet awe, a profound respect for a species that had, through its resilience and its capacity for both devastating power and profound peace, rewritten the rules of galactic engagement. No one feared humanity anymore. Now they understood them. And understanding, sometimes, was more powerful than any weapon. Cycles passed. Humanity, as promised, integrated into the Galactic Accord with a surprising grace and efficiency. Their contributions were immediate and profound. Their unique particle beam technology, initially a source of terror, was shared, refined, and adapted for Accord defensive platforms, revolutionizing galactic security. The Humanity Mandate, the Rapid Response Diplomatic and Defensive Corps, became an indispensable asset, its human-led teams proving adept at de-escalating volatile first-contact scenarios and neutralizing emergent threats with surgical precision. Humanity's pragmatism, their relentless problem-solving approach, and their sheer adaptability quickly earned them a reputation as invaluable members of the galactic community. Yet even as the Accord settled into this new era of stability and shared prosperity, a deeper, more ancient mystery began to stir. Reports from long-range probes, initially dismissed as random energy fluctuations, grew in Krias. Inglycoherent, they spoke of faint, rhythmic pulses emanating from the deepest, uncharted void beyond the galactic rim, a region once thought to be utterly barren. Elder Arcthar, now heading the Accord's Council of Unification, convened a special, smaller assembly within the Grand Conclave Chamber. Present were Chancellor Sharma, Captain Aris Thorn, Speaker Xyler, and Shimmer of the Deep, along with other key leaders. The air was thick with a new kind of tension, not fear of the unknown, but apprehension of the truly unfathomable. "The data streams are unequivocal," Arcthar stated, his voice resonating with a quiet intensity. For the past 2 cycles, our deepest long-range sensors have detected an energy signature unlike any we have ever encountered. It is not natural, nor is it a product of any known civilization. It is artificial and ancient. A holographic projection shimmered into existence, a complex, multi-layered wave form pulsating with a mesmerizing regularity. It was intricate, far beyond the capabilities of any known Accord technology to generate. Our xenolinguists, even with the combined analytical power of human and Lumina neural networks, have been unable to decipher its meaning, Speaker Xyler reported, his crystalline body shimmering with intellectual frustration. It appears to be a form of communication, yet it contains no identifiable linguistic structures, no mathematical patterns we can recognize. It is pure information, untranslated. The sheer power required to project such a signal across intergalactic distances is immense, Captain Thorne observed, his gaze fixed on the pulsating waveform. It implies a civilization of unimaginable scale or a technological mastery that makes even the Accord's achievements seem rudimentary. Shimmer of the deep, its tendrils flowing with an unusual intensity, projected a complex thought. Our ancient prophecies speak of the whispers from beyond, echoes of a precursor civilization that transcended the physical realm. Their existence was believed to be mythical, a cautionary tale. Yet this signal, it aligns with the legends. It is a presence that predates our galaxy's first starfaring species. Chancellor Sharma, her gaze steady, articulated the unspoken fear. A signal of this magnitude from such a distance, if it is a message, what is its purpose? If it is a beacon, what is it calling to? And if it is a warning, what does it warn us of? The Conclave had spent millennia charting the known galaxy, documenting every civilization, every anomaly. To suddenly confront evidence of a precursor presence of such power from beyond their perceived universe shattered their entire cosmological framework. This was not merely a new species, this was an entirely new tier of existence. Our current propulsion technologies, even human warp drives, would take millennia to reach the source of this signal, a Cathar strategist pointed out, his scales rippling with frustration. It is beyond our reach, a ghost from a forgotten epoch. Perhaps not entirely beyond our reach, Thorne interjected, his eyes glinting with a familiar spark of human ingenuity. Our astrophysicists, in collaboration with Xylo's quantum theorists, have been exploring a theoretical application of our particle stream technology, a controlled manipulation of localized spacetime, a microfold. The energy requirements are immense, unprecedented, but if we could sustain it, it might allow for instantaneous intergalactic travel. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. Intergalactic travel was the stuff of legend, of pure theoretical speculation. No known species had ever achieved it. The concept of microfolds was a human theoretical construct, deemed impossible by Accord physicists due to the prohibitive energy cost and the extreme instability of warped space. Instantaneous travel across intergalactic distances, Xyler transmitted, his light patterns flickering with disbelief. Captain Thorne, the energetic demands, the risks to the vessel, it is pure conjecture. Conjecture, perhaps, Thorne conceded, but one born of necessity. Humanity, when faced with an insurmountable barrier, often seeks to break it. Our particle stream, when inverted, could theoretically generate a localized quantum vacuum, a tear in the fabric of spacetime. The risk is immense, yes, but the potential reward, to reach the source of this signal, to understand its meaning, it could redefine our understanding of the universe. Arkthar looked at Chancellor Sharma, then back at Thorne. You propose to send a vessel, a human vessel, into the void beyond the galaxy, on a journey that risks utter annihilation, to answer a whisper from an unknown ancient entity. Sharma met his gaze, her expression resolute. Elder, humanity has always sought the edges of the map. We have faced the unknown and, through perseverance, turned it into knowledge. This signal is the greatest mystery our combined civilizations have ever encountered. To ignore it, to allow fear to dictate our inaction, would be a betrayal of our very nature. We offer to attempt this, not alone, but with the support and expertise of the Accord. Shimmer of the deep intensified its glow, its tendrils flowing with a surge of ancient wisdom. The prophecies speak of the children of adaptation, who would bridge the great divides. Humanity, with their relentless drive, their boundless curiosity, their capacity to face down oblivion and still seek understanding, they are the fulfillment of that prophecy. They are the ones who will seek the whispers from beyond. The weight of this new challenge, this cosmic unknown, settled upon the Conclave. It was a threat, perhaps, but more profoundly it was a call. A call to unravel the deepest secrets of existence, a beckoning to a frontier far grander than any star system, any galaxy. It was a journey into the true void. Thus, the greatest expedition in galactic history was born. A collaborative effort, spearheaded by human ingenuity, but drawing upon the vast knowledge and resources of the entire Accord. Human engineers worked alongside Xylo's quantum theorists. Lumina seers guided their spiritual preparation, and Eskrell strategists plotted contingency plans for every conceivable outcome. The ship chosen for this impossible voyage was a testament to humanity's unwavering spirit and their unique design philosophy. A colossal vessel named the Truth Seeker, its hull incorporating Accord's shielding and propulsion, but at its core, powered by an experimental inverted particle stream generator, capable of creating the theoretical microfolds. Captain Aris Thorne, his blue eyes holding the light of distant stars, was chosen to command the Truth Seeker. He stood before the assembled Accord and human leaders, his uniform crisp, his bearing radiating a quiet, unshakable resolve. "We go not for conquest, nor for glory," Thorne stated, his voice echoing with profound conviction. "We go for understanding. We go to answer a cosmic question. We go to seek the truth of the universe wherever it may lead us. We carry the hopes of every sentient being in this galaxy, and we will return with answers, or we will become a part of the grand tapestry of discovery." As the Truth Seeker prepared for its departure, silhouetted against the colossal gas giants of the Sol system, a final, unprecedented message was broadcast across the Accord's network. Elder Arkthar, his voice filled with newfound respect and awe, addressed the combined species. "For millennia, we have defined our universe by the boundaries of our galaxy. We have sought peace and prosperity within these confines. But now, a new frontier beckons, a mystery older than time itself. Humanity, a species we once feared for its strength, now leads us into the deepest unknown, not with weapons, but with courage, curiosity, and an unyielding will to understand. They have taught us that the greatest threats can become the greatest allies, and that the greatest mysteries are not to be feared, but to be embraced. May their journey be guided by the light of knowledge, and may their courage illuminate the path for all of us into the true cosmos. The galaxy stands unified, not just in defense, but in discovery, and it is humanity who has shown us the way." The vast, intricate conclave chamber, once a crucible of fear and suspicion, now pulsed with a new energy, one of unity, shared purpose, and boundless hope. The incident with the lost Armada, the fear it had engendered, had ultimately become the catalyst for the greatest leap of faith in galactic history. Humanity, the destroyers of a forgotten patrol, had become the architects of a unified future, the fearless explorers of the ultimate unknown, and no one feared them anymore. Instead, they stood in awe, watching as humanity, guided by their unwavering spirit, bravely ventured beyond the very edge of the known universe, seeking to unravel the deepest secrets of existence. The whispers from beyond were no longer a threat. They were a promise of a new cosmic dawn, led by the species that dared to ask the impossible questions and had the will to seek the answers.